And hello, and welcome to Paper of the Week. And I don't look like Matt, do I? Because I'm not Matt. Matt's on holidays this week. So while the rats are play, the mice will play. Is that how it works? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to do a very interesting paper here. And this one's a little bit controversial now. It's a peer-reviewed journal. So don't say, where did you get this information from? We'll show you the paper and everything. But I'm going to take you back to the year. Do you remember, if you're old enough, you'll remember this. Remember when 1999, when the world was going to die because there was the Y2K bug and all this sort of stuff and the computers were all going to blow up. Now, there's probably a whole lot of 20-year-olds going, what are you talking about? It was back in the year 2000 this paper was released. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why the heck is ATP Science telling me about a paper that was released 18 years ago? Isn't there something more modern? And there is, but this one tells a nice story. And this is a story that goes back to goes to a paper that was trying to investigate the cause of a condition called autism. Now, autism was first described in 1943 during World War II, where a doctor said, autism, basically. So it's now in the mental health manuals as a mental health condition. Now, autism typically affects kids, and there is a spectrum of autistic diseases. So they go from being just mildly antisocial to kids who really just can't speak. So people who don't, kids that don't integrate well, to the extreme people who are basically, can't communicate in any way, shape or form. So it is what they call a spectrum disorder. And it was often thought, and even to this very day, that it's got to do with the brain. And in a way it has. But in a way, like almost every disease, it's got to do with the gut as well. Now, as you know, about 95 to 98% of neurotransmitter serotonin is made in your gut. So that has a lot to do with your brain. Now, autism is a fairly common disorder. It affects about 1% of the Australian population, even more in some studies, and it's a growing disorder. Now, why is it a growing disorder? Firstly, it was only described in 1943, so it's a fairly modern disorder too. My mother was born in 1943, frankly, and she's 75 now, so it's 75 years old, this disease. And, it may have been occurring before that, but certainly not to the numbers today. So the benefit is why. So doctors are looking for treatments for it. Now, this was a medical study, and I'll read the title out. It says, short-term benefit from oral vancomycin treatment for regressive-onset autism. Now, what's vancomycin? Vancomycin, you might know of, is if you've had a surgery on your shoulder or knee or something. It's the most commonly prescribed antibiotic for the prevention of a post-operative infection. So it's a very, very common, very powerful antibiotic, and very, very strong against MRSA, which is a Staph aureus, and it's a very, very powerful antibiotic. It's been around for a while. But one of the interesting things about vancomycin is it's poorly absorbed in the body, and it mainly has an effect in the gut. So this might give you a clue to what's going on here. And they did this study basically on autistic kids, and they just gave them vancomycin. Now, they didn't have a cold or infection or anything. So they thought, well, what the heck can we do to, let's just have a look when we give them vancomycin. Anyway, they had the hypothesis that something to do with autism had something to do with the gut. So what they did, they gave them vancomycin. They just gave them 10 kids, and 80% or 8 out of the 10 kids significantly improved to the point where their autism was almost cancelled out in some cases, just with vancomycin treatment. So what that tells us, and of course then they withdrew the vancomycin and the kids typically went back to their pre-treatment levels. So that's why it's a short-term benefit from oral vancomycin. So they took it for a couple of weeks, improved dramatically, went off the vancomycin, got worse again. Now, there is a graph in this paper that hopefully through the magic of video I can show you, and it looks like an apex, an A-frame channel. Well, maybe we can superimpose it later. It's very small here. It shows you the massive improvement. They went off vancomycin and then they got sick again. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what's going on there? Well, what is going on there is we know that vancomycin, how it works. It doesn't work in the brain. It's not an SSRI, an SNRI. It's not an amphetamine that works in the brain. It works in the gut, and it kills microbes in the gut. Now, we've known for a long time that autism is associated with lots of dysbiotic bacteria in the kids. Now, association doesn't mean causation because they're there, but that's what's causing the autism. This study shows that yes, something in the gut is causing autistic symptoms. Now, here's the big kicker, is that the microbes that are found here is basically an anaerobic bacteria. In other words, it feeds off sugars and carbohydrates. So a lot of these kids are fed a diet that's very, very high in refined carbohydrates. A lot of kids these days, not just junk food, but live off cereals. They live off breads, not to mention lollies and ice cream, and McDonald's, and all the junk food under the sun, which grows dysbiotic bacteria in the gut. Giving them vancomycin doesn't do anything up here, it improves the gut. So it kills those microbes in the gut. So it is absolutely phenomenal when you come across a study like this, because 20 years ago, they sussed out, 18 years ago, they sussed out that autism has a lot to do with the gut. So I find these studies absolutely very, very fascinating, and especially because it had such an improvement rate. So this is where our products like the Gut Right can come in to treat a neurological disease, which is like autism. So that's why naturopaths, we're obsessed with the bowels. We think a lot of conditions start in the bowels. These sorts of scientific papers, even from 18 years ago, show that by giving an antibiotic that kills bacteria in the gut can help with autistic kids. So it's just food for thought. I'm not recommending you go and get vancomycin left, right and centre, but it shows you that the gut is so important with the brain that these studies have to be noted. All right, thank you very much for that, and we'll see you again next week.